he briefed a friend on his notes of his meetings with Trump. And then his friend leaked all that to the Times. And then he denied knowing anything about that or having anything to do with that under oath to the Congress. So he's like plainly guilty in the most black and white type of a sense there. And I think the facts are already not even in question as far as that goes. So, but what he's really guilty of is conspiring with John Brennan to frame Donald Trump, beginning at the very end of 2015, very, very beginning of 2016, to come up with this entire thing. And we now know from the recently declassified documents and so forth, that one of the reasons that he announced the shutdown of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's missing 30,000 emails, which is totally separate from the later hack and leak from the DNC. We know now he shut that investigation down because he was afraid his own agents were going to discover the Clinton plan to frame Trump, which she was actually late to the game. It was Brennan who started it, Comey who got on board, and Hillary Clinton and friends who got on board third, unless there was a secret meeting between her and Brennan that we don't know about. But what we can prove is that Brennan and Comey were already conspiring against Trump when she and her team got on board and decided to embellish the lies even more themselves. And we know now that Comey shut down his guy's investigation of her because he knew it would lead to that. And they all had this giant conspiracy to frame Trump for treason. At that time, the presumed nominee for major party presidential candidate, which, you know, John Brennan and Jim Comey and all of their top deputies and everybody who was in on that all deserve the rest of their lives in prison. Or I could say, like, if it was a plea deal, maybe we just confiscate all of their property and kick them and their families out of North America forever. Total banishment and exile from our society.
Man, you got some pretty strong feelings on that.
Let me tell you something. It's no less worse. It's no less worse than if they shot him in the face in Dallas. It's no less worse than burning the Branch Davidians to death and lying about it and calling it a suicide. These people belong in the penitentiary, Danny. They're the worst people in our society, all of them. And I'm not a Trump guy.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to keep going
down this road. I'd say the same thing if they framed a Democrat this way. What right does the FBI have to do COINTELPRO against the leading nominee, the leading candidate for nomination for president of the United States of a major party in this country? They treated him like he's the Black Panthers in Oakland or something. Are you crazy? No. They deserve to be absolutely punished as severely as possible.
So how do you fit into this narrative that where Comey did something that right before the 2016 election, it seemed like it would help Trump by saying he is reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton? How did that fit into all this?
He had no choice. That was because the New York office had found a new stash of Hillary Clinton's emails on Anthony Weiner's computer as part of their separate investigation into him. And Comey was in a corner, afraid that it was going to leak from New York, that he was burying this and refusing to investigate this stuff in a way that would help her. And as he later admitted in his memoir, this whole time we were operating in an atmosphere where we all assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And so he decided, well, it's better that I come out and say, well, we are reopening this investigation, but not heavily imply that it's leading to anything. But he was worried that the New York office was going to go ahead and leak that they found more, and Comey's refusing to do what he has to do about it. But if you read the Durham report, and I beg your audience to read the Durham report and read the newly declassified annex to it, and all the newly declassified documents, which I'm way behind on all this stuff, but even the parts of it that I've read so far they're just so damning. And the previous Durham report are just so damning that, I mean, Danny, the FBI leadership on more occasions than you could name pretended not to know things so that they could allow the investigation to continue. There's so many facts. I mean, 1,001 claims against Trump, they were all fake. And the FBI agents themselves debunked all the lies in real time as they came in. But the executives all pretended to think it was all still true. And they all continued to leak 1,000 or 10,000 leaks to the media. There were the Columbia Journalism Review counted 250,000 stories that they put out about Trump and his treason with Russia. Zero of which was true. And this is the thing. People still say, well, there's smoke, there's fire. There was no smoke. It was just steam, hot air. all fake, every bit of it. Every accusation that they made against Trump and every single member of his team, and for that matter, every accusation that they made against Russia for intervening on Trump's side in any way was all BS. Every bit of it, including the hack and the leak from the DNC, including the buying of the Facebook ads and all of that crap. None of it holds up. None of it. And I disprove it all.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not a big personal fan of Donald Trump anyway, but you're defending what's right and wrong here. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. And look, I am happy to admit that I rooted for Trump 3 times. I could never bring myself to vote for him because of the Zionism issue more than anything else. But I am very sympathetic to right-wing populism. I'm a libertarian and not any kind of leftist or liberal or anything like that. I'm not a never Trumper, but I personally could never support the guy because of Zionism, which is totally different than the rhino sort of center-right George W. Bushian never Trumper phenomenon. I'm totally separate from that. So I'm the kind of guy who would very much like to vote for Trump, but just can't, essentially. But
I hear
regardless, if they did this to Hillary Clinton, I would still defend her from this, because these are completely post-constitutional national security state agencies and departments that shouldn't even exist at all. For them to take on the civilian leadership of this government, Donald Trump is the only guy, the president is the only member of the executive branch of the national government who stands for popular election at all. They are beholden to him. For them to undermine him in that way after he was elected and then after he was sworn in, for them to continue this hoax for another couple of years, appoint a special counsel and all of this stuff, these people should be strung up, every one of them. And because, again, we know now from the documents that they knew they were lying all along. I mean, what does it mean, Danny, when they refuse to interview the guy who's being accused, Carter Page, is being accused of being Donald Trump's handler for Vladimir Putin, and they refused to talk to him until the spring of 2017. Why? Because they knew he was a loyal CIA asset who would come in and answer every single one of their questions to their satisfaction, and then they wouldn't be able to pretend to be suspicious anymore. They were lying, all of them. And Comey and Brennan as identical twin ringleaders of this thing, both of them.
Well, we'll see if justice is finally done here, and I wouldn't cause me any problems at all if you added some Brennan and maybe Clapper to some of that, because they seem to be doing some nefarious stuff as well. But I guess one thing at a time.
Yep. We can start with this and see. And this is just an absolute open and shut case. I would say, though, that it's very unfortunate that Donald Trump keeps blabbing about this, because, and who knows what standards are left anywhere in this society, man. But it used to be, in fact, I remember that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Richard Nixon said, well, obviously Charles Manson is guilty. And then he went, you know what? I'm sorry. I take that back. I don't know nothing about it. You guys take care. Because that is like unfairly prejudicial to the thing. He's the president of the United States. He should not be weighing in on something like that. That's somebody else's responsibility to take care of. He pushed enough. He got some charges filed. He should now button his lip. Otherwise, he could be the cause of Comey getting off, which would be
Yeah. That was one of the things I thought about, because you're making all these comments here, and especially the fact that he posted that Truth Social, Pam, where are you going after these guys who are guilty as hell and all this, and then 2 days later, I think it was, whatever. It's just not a good look, and I'm sure the defense would use it if he's convicted. They'll probably go back and use that on appeal.